As a 27-year-old guy at the time, I was married. Me and my wife, we had 2 kids at the time. And it came a point to when my family was first that I had to sit down, look myself in the mirror and say, hey, it's time for a career. And, in doing so, which was pretty much like a self-evaluation, I figured, I'm a stand-up guy, lots of integrity. Let's try law enforcement. And, of course, it starts with an application, and the rest is history. I grew to love it. I've always enjoyed helping people, and law enforcement that's right up my alley. I currently attend Mercer University. I'm here in Macon. My concentration is criminal justice with the emphasis on public safety. I see myself doing nothing else but law enforcement in some capacity. I think, with getting my degree from Mercer, I could definitely set myself apart and move on up in the ranks. I grew up, born, raised, and now I work here in Macon. It means a lot to me to, go from being that little boy in elementary school to being a man who serves, the very community I came from. I can't put it into words, but it's awesome. Nowadays, some of us are not viewed as the good guys. It helps to know that there's someone on the side behind us that says, you know what, we still love you guys and we're for you. By giving me that scholarship, that's what the Shield Club said to me. Hey, Deputy Stevens, we appreciate what you do. By the way, here's some money for you to go back to school. I can't help but smile. Sky's the limit. I want to be a sergeant. That's my first goal, and I know that's what that's going to do.
At the end of the day, I don't like to see innocent people hurt or injured. It bothers me. And I don't like to see the bad guy get away. Originally, it was a rape of a young lady, and the reports were done, but we didn't have anything to go on. Another investigator had worked the case. He did everything he could, but there just wasn't enough to move forward. Some things came down from the Atlanta area. We were able to see that Atlanta had a similar case, and once everything was put into CODIS, it came back as being the same person. Approximately 8 days separate, he committed a rape here. He went to Atlanta and committed a very similar rape. We had to contact the Atlanta jurisdiction. I had to get paperwork sent down from them, communicating with their investigators. There were several things from both crime scenes that we were able to link together and say this was very similar to this, and be able to put it all together. And it takes time to sit down and compare the 2 cases and say, well, this is the same as this, and this is the same as this, and we can say it's almost definitely the same person if we didn't have DNA. And that's what you try to do. There's a lot of satisfaction in being able to tell somebody who was truly hurt that you're able to get the person who did it, so they get a sense of peace. The homicide case was actually, he was a drug dealer. He was shot. He had a lot of heart injuries. He had a lot of problems with himself. And he wasn't a person that was out causing pain in the community. He did sell marijuana within his little area. But everybody that knew him liked him, said he would take his shirt off his back for you. From what I could gather, he was a decent guy. The guy came up and he was robbing him, and he shot him in the commission of the robbery. The whole community came out at this time. It was a really chaotic scene. And his family was really distraught over his loss. He had children and a fiance for 15 years, and she was actually on the porch when he was shot. And we were able to find a witness who could point us in the right direction. It took quite a few testimonies to get this to where it needed to be. We were able to put all the pieces together and move forward with the prosecution. You got to keep a cool head. You can't get upset. You can't get mad at people. A lot of times you have to realize that they're upset because of what they've just seen or been through, and then they may be a little distrustful of the police. Sometimes our victims are not the most wonderful people, but they still didn't deserve whatever this was that happened to them, and you still have to advocate for them. You still have to help them as best you can. And hopefully by the end of it, I like to think that they've got a new level of understanding and respect for law enforcement by the way you treat them.
Probably 6 or 7 years old. Officers used to come to class and talk about drugs and how to stay away from drugs. And I just had a passion to try to find out, what does these guys do? So it's just been something that's been a part of me. It's a blessing today to achieve my goal to be a police officer. In order to get back to the community, establish a public safety basketball tournament to be able to contribute funds to the mentor group programs. By creating that basketball was something we could give back to the mentor program so they could see us out of uniform and let them know, hey, we're in the community too, we're part of you. You know, if you feel free to talk to us, because we people just like you are. We had problems in different communities. They had houses that was having large parties, and a lot of gang activity was going on in these houses. Being on a patrol, we needed some assistance. So I called up some help from the gang task force unit, and we was able to get together and do a joint collaboration to try to help shut down those places. We was able to make cases and make arrests and stop those disorderly households that was going on in those communities. Catching a burglar in progress is very hard to do because a lot of times they have lookout people and a lot of times they have scanners. A lot of times they're gone before we can arrive. And when the call went out, it was a burglar in progress. We was able to get on scene and capture the suspect right there hiding in the bushes prior to him going inside the residence. The response time was very quick also. We responded within, I think, 30 seconds to a minute. We was there on scene. When you having to make decisions, real fast decisions, your training takes over and you're able to have good people skills to try to help relate to the people and help solve the cases. I look forward to going to work, have a good team I work with, and have a supervisor who leads by example, and so we just try to do our best and coordinate with the community. I think Shield Club is an awesome group. This group have came together and try to nurture and try to help them and say, hey, what can I do to help you all? And also to help the kids with scholarship programs, and I think it's an awesome group.
The fire department here in Macon is unique because it's a Class 1 fire department, which is the best ISO rating that you can get. The camaraderie at our station is really, really close. We hang out off duty, on duty, and I mean, we're just a big family.
What makes this group of guys special is that we all get along. And that when we come to work, when that bell hits, it's a job to do. So any issues we may have with one another, that has to go out the door because we have a common goal. But these guys are top notch, and I say that to anybody. I tell them this all the time. It's the best crew.
I mean, they've been here for me since the very beginning, and it's that level of trust, knowing that you never worry about anything. You never worry about what's going to happen.
You're in a room for 24 hours about the size of this room with 7 other guys. So you kind of understand their personalities and they understand your personality, and you kind of just become brothers, you know, in a way.
Lieutenant Parker was ultimately, he was a great guy, inside and out, on duty and off duty. He brought a lot of knowledge to the station. He was very smart, and he really cared about us. And you know, he was one of us. He took us under his wing, and we looked out for him, and everything was good.
The one thing that stands out is that particular day that he passed. He came in and he was just happy all day. It was a sermon by T.D. Jakes that he talked about, and it's entitled "Nothing Just Happens." And so once we got to the scene and that happened, it was crushing. It was crushing.
We got the call to a grass fire on February 11th around 6 p.m. And I overheard them over the radio get on the scene, and they said, "We have a house fire." And I told Randy, I said, "Did you just hear that?" And I said, "That's in our territory, our second call territory." We went ahead and headed to the truck before they called us.
From my standpoint, he was on the outside, what we call the B side of the house, and he had the hose in his hand, and I went to him. And normally when we see an officer of a higher rank have a hose or anything in his hand, we usually take it out and say, "Look, we'll handle it." And so I took the hose from him and said, "Lieutenant, we got it." And that was the last time I saw him.
We believed we had the fire under control at a certain point, and it was pretty much damage control. The smoke was clear in the building. Firemen were walking through without mask or air because they had clean air to breathe.
Our investigator was already inside taking photographs and doing the investigation, and it started to smoke a little bit.
Well, it was actually fire in the basement. It was constantly building. As we were cleaning the smoke out, we were adding fuel to the fire, so to speak, by pumping in fresh air to get the smoke out. And then as it started rekindling at the bottom, the two here behind me, Adam and Matt, they were in there trying to get a hole in the floor as the floor was burning out from under them. And Randy had left to go get a chainsaw, and when he come back in, he stepped off in the door and the floor gave out from under him. And these two guys here behind us, they were coming out, and they fell off in the hole as they were coming out. So once we get him out, they rushed him to the hospital, and then, we got the word, 30 minutes later, so that he didn't make it. So it was definitely difficult the few months after, what we've experienced, and every time the bell hit for a house fire, your knees would kind of knock a little bit. But you had to just suck it up and go because, people were depending on you. And, I knew it was a dangerous job, but I never thought we would have experienced anything like that. I've been to other firemen's, but I didn't ever think we'd have one off of our truck.
Just like Sarge said, his last day, he was happy-go-lucky, and I think that's a good legacy to leave. You come to work, you just be glad to be alive, be thankful for what you have, and be grateful that you're fortunate, and there's lots and lots of people that are a lot less fortunate than we are. And that's the legacy that he leaves, is to live every day like it's your last. So
I trust these guys with every bit of my life and my family's life. I could call them any time of the day or night and say I need you, and they'd be there. No questions asked.